My parents didn't invite me and my kids to Christmas. Mom said, your brother is bringing his girlfriend to meet the family. He doesn't want your kids there. They'd ruin the perfect image. I understand, I said and hung up. The next day, they showed up at my door furious. And the moment they saw me, my brother's girlfriend said, my name's Levi. I'm 36, an art director at a mid-sized agency. The divorced dad of two tornadoes named Mia, 7, and Theo, 5. I pick pallets for a living and pack school lunches like it's a campaign. I'm the oldest, the steady one. The can you take a quick look at this? Guy for every family problem that turns out not to be quick. It was a Tuesday night in December when Mom called. We're doing Christmas Eve at our house, she said, already in that breathless hostess tone. But, honey, your brother is bringing his girlfriend to meet the family. He doesn't want your kids there. They'd ruin the perfect image. There was a silence so hard it rang. My hand tightened on the phone. Perfect image? She's very particular. Minimalist. They're making content. The kids are loud. You understand. Then softer, weaponized. Be flexible, Levi. For once, I stared at the microwave clock. 7:42 p.m. I pictured Mia's construction paper chain draped across our cheap bookshelf, Theo asleep on the couch in dinosaur pajamas, a smear of cocoa on his lip. I understand, I said and hung up. I did not sleep. I scrolled photos. Years of Christmas mornings. Wrapping paper stuck to socked feet. The camera shake of real joy. I thought about image. How my job is to make things look good without lying. How different that is from erasing the messy parts so you look better. The next morning, a text from Dad. Don't take this personally. By noon, they were on my porch anyway. Mom, Dad, my brother, and the girlfriend. No heads up. Just the doorbell and a blur of winter coats. Mom's face was tight enough to snap. I opened the door. Zach, my brother, looked like a plug-in. Boyfriend V2, festive. The girlfriend stood a half step forward. Perfect hair, perfect beige coat, phone in her hand. She looked me up and down, then at the paper chain behind me. So, she said, voice bright and flat, you're the one who keeps ruining the family brand. It didn't start with Christmas. It never does. I've been reliable since 19. When Dad's contractor forgot to pull permits and the fine hit, I covered it. When Zach's first car died because he forgot oil changes exist, I paid for a used Civic and pretended I wasn't still paying when he sold it to buy sneakers. I built my career on deadlines and mood boards, and built their emergencies into my calendar like holidays. When I got married, they showed up with opinions. When I got divorced, they showed up with silence. But the kids, my kids, brought me back to center. Two small people who think sprinkling sugar on toast makes it cake. My custody is 70/30ths. Christmas Eve falls on my week this year. I'd already bought a pre-lit tree because the real ones make me itch. Zach is 32 and permanently soft-launched. He posts close-ups of watches he can't afford and quotes about grinding at 5 a.m. He never looks tired. That's because other people do the grinding. Mom says he's entrepreneurial. Mostly, he texts, bro, quick favor? I design things for a living. Guess who designed 3 logos for Zach's brands? Guess who built his Shopify, patched his product photos, and retouched his girlfriend's candid street shots so the trash bags in the background vanished? You're so good, they said. We'll pay you once it takes off. It never took off. But my photo credit vanished like the trash bags. Money talk in our family always wears a costume. We call it helping out, being there, just until payday. The biggest costume is family. If you say no to family, you're cold. If family says no to you, you're dramatic. 2 months before the no kids Christmas, I got a text from Mom. Could you add us to your phone plan? Ours is getting too expensive. I did the math, saw the auto pay, added them. It wasn't just phones. Netflix, then Hulu, then Dad's iPad on my Apple Music. It's just streaming, Mom said. You don't even notice. I noticed. I noticed when my Adobe Creative Cloud bill doubled, and I realized Zach had logged into my account on his laptop to download Photoshop for a quick flyer. I noticed when he sent me an InDesign file that still had my account's stock image watermark all over it. I noticed when a $218 charge for a premium template bundle hit my business card at 3 a.m., and the vendor's invoice matched an email forwarded from Zach at zk-collective.io. Accident, he said. I thought it was still the free trial. I sent him a screenshot of the charge. He heart-reacted it. Meanwhile, Mom liked to rehearse a story about fairness. We supported you in art school, she'd say. I worked nights to pay for art school. They gave me a suitcase and a brilliant speech. Support came in the form of Christmas leftovers wrapped in foil, dropped off at my dorm like a performance. The girlfriend. Her name is Brooke, because of course it is, slid in around Thanksgiving. Blonde, smartphone, smart mouth. I met her once at a brunch where everyone ordered air and she cut pancakes into geometries for the camera and didn't eat. She told me she was a creative director for a candle brand that only sells one candle at a time for $89. I asked what the scent was. Clean. Okay. Brooke believes in neutral palettes and kids only in muted clothing. Mia wears a neon unicorn hoodie like it's armor. Theo thinks socks are optional. My house photographs honest. Brooke called it chaotic. Zach called it not on brand. Mom called it something to work on, honey. When Mom delivered the Christmas news, no kids, because perfect image, I could hear Brooke in the room, coaching. We're doing a white-on-white table. The kids will touch things. As if touching is a crime. I said, I understand, because I've learned if you fight in the moment, they turn your anger into the problem. If you go quiet, you get a minute to breathe. The next morning on my porch, the four of them looked like a board meeting. Mom went first. You made me feel terrible last night, she said, like I'd slashed her tires. I said 2 words, I said. That's the problem, Dad added. You're always withholding. Family needs communication. Zach adjusted his watch. Bro, it's one Christmas. We're trying to land a partnership. Brooke lined up a photographer, a food stylist, the whole thing. It's our shot. Kid noise ruins content. You can drop the kids at Dad's while you come through. They're my kids, I said. Christmas with their dad is not a negotiable aesthetic. Brooke stepped in, voice pleasant. We're building something. You're an art director. You get it. The feed has to feel cohesive. I looked at Mom's eyes. Calculating. There's also a budget, she said, finally revealing the real thing. We're spreading ourselves thin. Hosting is expensive. We'd appreciate help. You've always been generous. There it was. How much? I asked. Don't be crass, Mom snapped. Then, 2,000 would take the pressure off. Food, florals, maybe a small stipend for the photographer. We want to do it right. And we want you there, Dad added quickly. Just you. Without the kids, Brooke echoed. We can have a separate kid day after the new year. Something low-key. Theo padded into the hallway behind me, hair wild, clutching his stuffed triceratops. He blinked at the grown-ups like they were loud birds. Pancakes. Brooke's smile faltered for half a second. She looked down at her boots. Oh. I turned my body so Theo couldn't see their faces. Go sit, bud. I'll make them. As he ran back to the kitchen, I faced the panel again. Let me think, I said. Today would be best, Mom said. We have deposits. Zach lifted his chin. Friends don't let friends miss opportunities. Family, Dad corrected. Family. Zach agreed, like he'd invented it. I nodded slowly. Right. Family. I closed the door. I let the door click and leaned my forehead against the wood. I could hear my pulse. In the kitchen, Mia hummed Jingle Bells, off-key, while she rifled the sprinkle drawer. Theo drummed the table with a spoon. The house sounded like life. My phone buzzed. Group chat. Family, immediate. Mom had renamed it last year, right after I paid Dad's surprise tax bill. Mom. Levi, please don't be difficult. Dad. We need a decision by 3. Zach, Venmo is fine. Brooke, sending inspo. 3 beige squares dropped in, a white tablecloth, white candles, a bowl of bleached pine cones that looked like bones. I opened photos and scrolled to my camera roll, receipts folder. I keep receipts like a hobby now. Not for revenge. For memory. Dad's contractor fine. Zach's Civic. iPad for Mom. Groceries that went missing from their porch and somehow showed up in their fridge. I screenshotted a grid of them and dragged it into the chat. Me. Just a reminder. Mom replied in under 10 seconds. Tacky. Zach. We said we'd pay you back. Me. You also said that about the Shopify and the photo gear and the Adobe charges and the phone plan. Blue dots typing. Stopped. Typing again. Brooke finally. Money as leverage over family is not the vibe. I stared at that sentence until the edges went soft. Then something clicked. It wasn't a fresh idea. It was an old one I'd ignored. Boundaries aren't mean. They're honest. I typed. Me. I'm not paying for a photographer to capture my kid's absence. Silence. Mom called. I let it ring out. She texted instead. You're blowing this out of proportion. Be an adult. Me. I am. Here's what's changing. I stood at the counter with sticky kid hands tugging at my shirt and wrote the list in plain words. I'm removing you from my phone plan at the end of this billing cycle. I'll send you the transfer pin. I'm changing my Adobe password and will report any unauthorized logins. Zach, stop using my license. Streaming accounts will be signed out today. You can set up your own. I won't be funding events I or my kids are uninvited from. If you attempt to add yourself to any of my business cards again, I will file a fraud report. I hit send. 3 dots. Then dad. Threats. Me. Boundaries. Zach dude. Over $2,000. Me. Over a pattern. Mom, you're making this hostile. Your children will hear about this. I looked at Mia's face, dusted with powdered sugar, and felt something steady inside me. No, I said out loud to the empty room. They'll hear I protected them. The doorbell rang again. I opened it. The 4 of them on the porch, tighter now, winter air pouring around their edges. Mom started to speak. I held up a hand. Calm. I'm done being the bank and the stylist and the silent one, I said. You can host any Christmas you want. White table, no kids, content, whatever. But not with my money. And if you ever try to shut my kids out so you can look cleaner online, you shut me out too. Zach's jaw flexed. You'd blow up Christmas over a vibe? You blew it up when you made family conditional. Brooke lifted her phone like a shield. This is unhinged. Then don't hinge on me. Dad went for the soft knife. Levi, son, think of the bigger picture. I am, I said and closed the door. It's wild how quiet a house feels after a hard boundary. Not sad quiet, just clear. Like when a client finally approves the layout and the noise in your head stops. I made pancakes. Mia overdid the sprinkles. Theo insisted on a Christmas dinosaur made from banana slices, and Ms. We watched the terrible claymation special from the 70s because the snow looks like shredded coconut. We cut paper snowflakes that looked like amoebas. The kids were louder than any content could bear, and it sounded like safety. My phone became a slot machine. Messages pinged all day. Mom, what you're doing is cruel. Dad, you owe us a conversation. Zach, adult men don't act like this. Brooke, unbelievable. Then texts from numbers I didn't have saved. Aunts who prefer whispering to my face. Maybe tone it down. Your mom is crying. Kids make things complicated. The subtext hummed. Be small again. At noon, the first consequence hit, not mine. Dad texted, phones aren't working. Is this you? I hadn't cut them off yet. I called the provider. Turns out Zach had ordered an iPhone upgrade on my account at 3 a.m., and the SIM transfer auto-deactivated Mom's device. The rep asked to confirm the shipping address. It was Zach's apartment. I canceled the order, triggered a fraud alert, and told the rep to flag any changes as owner only. I texted the group. Nice try. Sent the screenshot. Zach, wow, petty. Me, legal. By late afternoon, I got an email from Adobe. New sign-in detected. City, the same as Zach's. I hit sign out of all devices, changed the password, turned on 2-factor with my physical key. I messaged him separately. If you need design software, buy it. He replied with a vomiting emoji. Around 5, my doorbell rang again. This time just Brooke. Beige coat. Bare head. Cold pink on her cheeks. I don't want a scene, she said. Then stopped showing up at my door. She glanced past me, where the kids were dancing to Jingle Bell Rock at a volume that rattled the utensils. Look, I get that you're protective, but you're tanking something big. A brand offered us product for the dinner. They like clean lines. Babies with sticky hands don't fit. They're not babies. I didn't mean. You did. I kept my voice low. Brooke, I'm not your problem. You just met my family. They're very good at spending other people's money and calling it love. If you want that, fine. But my kids aren't props you can crop. Something changed in her eyes. Not agreement, but a flicker. She looked at the paper chain again. You could style the kid day, she tried weakly. We already did. I nodded at Mia, who was wearing 3 different patterns and a grin. And it's perfect. Brooke swallowed. We won't ask you for anything else, she said, turning away. I know, I said and closed the door. That night, Mia asked, very small. Did we do something wrong? Grandma said we're a lot. My brain went white. I sat on the floor so our eyes were level. You were loud, I said. And silly. And brilliant. And not for anyone's brand. Someone made a grown-up choice that wasn't kind. That's on them. She nodded, thinking, then climbed into my lap. Theo crawled across the rug like a lizard and piled on. We became a kid heap. I breathed into the tangle of their hair and made a new rule in my bones. The second someone makes them think their bigness is a flaw, we're done with that someone. Far away, at the white-on-white dinner, Mom posted a story of candles I couldn't watch because I'd removed myself from following months ago. A cousin DM'd me screenshots anyway. The table looked like a hospital woke up and decided to be festive. Zach gave a toast. And there, in the reflection of a serving spoon, were the empty spaces where kids would have stood on tiptoe to blow out candlelight. The next day, the money part arrived, late and dramatic, like it always does. Mom called first thing, Voice pitched to martyr. We had to put the catering on our credit card because you wouldn't help. The bank flagged it. We're over limit. I'm sorry you planned something you couldn't afford. You'll reimburse us for the difference, she said, as if that's what sons do when parents can't math. No. She inhaled sharply. Your father is very disappointed. Dad got on the line. Levi, your brother stepped up. He covered the photographer out of his own pocket. A second text from Zach came in the background of the call, a screenshot of a pay now request he'd sent me for $1,850. Memo. Christmas team support, your share. I laughed. I couldn't help it. I'm not joining your co-op, I said. You'll regret alienating your family, Dad said low. I regret the time I didn't spend with my kids because I was fixing your problems. Click. They hung up. By noon, Mom's friend, the one who treats drama like cardio, posted a Facebook status about ungrateful children who abandon their elders. Another cousin sent me a DM. You okay? People are wild. Then, also, Zach tried to borrow my camera, and when I said no, he said you owe him for the brand work you did for free. He said he's invested in your career. I sent her a single skull emoji. At 3, a different knock. Not Brooke. Not my parents. Aunt Linda, the family's quiet rebel, with a bag of gingerbread and a look I haven't seen on a relative in years. Respect. I told your mother she was out of line, she said, slipping off her boots. She said you were cruel. I said you were right. She handed Mia the gingerbread and Theo a pack of glow sticks. Merry Kid Christmas. She stayed for an hour. She didn't fix anything or ask me to. She listened. When she left, I stood on the porch in the early dark and realized I felt light. Not happy. Not yet. But unhooked. The practical stuff came next. I moved my business account to a new bank and closed the card Zach had figured out how to use online through saved autofill. I put a credit freeze on. I removed my parents from my phone plan and sent them the transfer pin like I promised. Mom wrote, "We can't figure this out," and I replied with a screenshot of the provider's step-by-step. Dad wrote, "We're old," and I wrote, "You're capable." They didn't like that. I took a trash bag and cleared the closet of every favor that had become expected. The spare iPad, the DSLRs Zach borrowed, the ring light Brooke left here after the brunch. I put them in the car and drove to their house and left the bag on the porch with a note, returning your stuff. Please return my piece. A neighbor saw me. Merry Christmas, he said. Working on it, I said. That night, while the kids slept tangled in one bed because it felt safer, I opened the laptop and made a private folder called Evidence. Not because I planned to go to war, because clarity beats gaslighting. Screenshots, dates, charges, the $218 template bundle, the iPhone order, the pay now request, the perfect image, text. I didn't need to send it to anyone. I needed to see it all in one place, and no, I wasn't imagining a pattern. On Christmas morning, Mia woke me at 6:03 a.m. with a whisper scream. Snow. It wasn't sticking. It was wet and half-hearted. We still ran outside in pajamas and boots. Theo licked a snowflake off the mailbox and declared it minty. I made cinnamon rolls that came out uneven and perfect. We opened presents slow. No content. I took 2 photos for me. Around noon, a final text from Brooke. For the record, I didn't know about the money asks. That's not my lane. I'm sorry about the brand comment. I said something that wasn't kind because I panicked about being liked. Then, I'm rethinking some things. I typed and deleted 3 drafts. I ended with, good. January is always gray where we live. It's the month the light goes thin and you learn what you kept from December besides receipts. I kept 2 things, a clean calendar and a clean conscience. Mom tried 3 more times. Sunday dinner to talk this out. Your father misses you. We need to set expectations moving forward. All of it sounded like project management, not care. I replied once. When you're ready to apologize to my kids for making them feel like a problem, we can talk. Not before. Silence. Zach posted a carousel of the white-on-white dinner with a caption about grinding with my day one and a prayer hand emoji. Comments said goals. I scrolled past. He texted me a week later. Brooke and I are taking a break. You happy? I stared at it until it shrunk. Then I put my phone face down and built a Lego spaceship with Theo that looked like a toaster with wings. At work, I stopped staying late to vacuum other people's messes because I realized I'd been rehearsing the same role everywhere. I trained my junior designer instead of just fixing her files at 11 p.m. I said, no rush, when a project manager tried to turn a preference into a deadline. My boss asked if I was okay. I said, I'm good, and meant it. Mia asked if we were going to Grandma's house again. I told her we could invite Grandma here if she wanted to apologize. Will she? Mia asked. I said, people surprise you. 2 weeks later, Aunt Linda invited us to her place for cocoa. No agenda, she said. Just warmth. We went. She had mismatched mugs and a puzzle missing 4 pieces and a dog that sheds like it's his job. It felt like a life you can trust. On the drive home, the kids sang. Off-key, messy, great. The last thing I did was small and huge. I printed a sheet of paper and taped it inside my kitchen cabinet where we keep the bowls. It's just a list. I don't pay to be treated badly. My kids are not negotiable. No is a complete sentence. Family is a verb. I read it every morning. On days I forget who I am to them, it reminds me who I am to me. A few nights ago, Dad finally texted. Your mother wants to try again. Sunday. Bring the kids. I breathed. Then, we'll come by for an hour. If anyone mentions image or asks for money, we leave. He wrote, fine. No emoji. Progress disguised as grumpiness. We went. Mom had clearly practiced sorry in the mirror. It came out stiff and real enough. She knelt to Mia and Theo and said, I made a mistake. Not if, not but, just the sentence. I watched their faces. They forgave her instantly because they're kids and their default setting is open. I let my shoulders drop 1 inch. Zach wasn't there. Mom said he was busy. I didn't ask. We stayed for exactly 1 hour. We ate dry cookies. We took home leftovers we actually wanted. When Mom started to hover and ask around family trips and budgets, I stood, smiled, and said, we're heading out. No scene. No lecture. Just the line. We left at 59 minutes, because sometimes you keep promises to yourself with a timer. At bedtime, Mia asked what the moral of Christmas was this year. She asked it about everything, like life is a fable and I'm old man owl. I tucked her in and thought about candlesticks and pay now requests and paper chains and banana dinosaurs. The moral, I said, is that love isn't a filter. It's messy and loud, and it doesn't ask you to shrink. If someone says you have to make yourself smaller to fit in their picture, you get a new frame. She nodded like this was obvious. And we're keeping our paper chain up till March, she said. Deal, I said. I turned off the light. The house hummed. Not perfect. Ours. I stood in the doorway for a second longer and let the quiet settle. Then I went to the kitchen, opened the cabinet with the bowls, and read the list again like a prayer I finally mean. I don't pay to be treated badly. My kids are not negotiable. No is a complete sentence. Family is a verb. I'm done being anyone's brand.